Hello everybody, Antonis here. In the previous video I did the crash course inside 3D Code Print, and in this video I will show how to use just the one tool, sketch tool, to create a hard surface model that allows you almost an unlimited creativity. So what I'll do, I'll just press spacebar and I'll go and click on the sketch tool. That gives us the four planes to deal with. So I don't want that or cube right in the middle. I want just an empty layer, so I'll click on this clear current object layer button that clears it out, and I'm ready to go. One thing you have to do to activate the tool, which is a little bit unintuitive, but you have to click on here, and it will allow you to paint on top. So I want to press 5 on my numpad to go into the orthographic view, and then I want to scale this volume up because the lightsaber I'm planning to do is, no, it's got this rectangular proportions, not a square proportions. So then I want to press E, and here we have our different options for shapes, and if I press Control I will be able to cut one side. So right now I don't have any symmetry, so I just want to go and activate all the symmetry that I have. That will allow us to do a symmetrical model. Just by dragging, doing the shapes, you're already getting something like a lightsaber-ish, right, from one view. If I go from the left side, you can see, well, it's just like a brick, there's nothing there. So what I want to do is I go onto the top, and I'm always like snapping it. To snap, I press Alt Tab, and I'll snap with Alt Tab. Snap the top view, clear it, and then paint a circle in the middle. So what happens is you will catch this gizmo, so I just want to move it away and not bother it, not bother with this, and just draw a circle and get it done. So now we have our a round shape, and press Control and start to cut through. So what I want to do is I want to get a round bevel shape. So to do that, I will do this and then Control, do this, and don't want to do this and this. So now we have a bit of a bevel, and here I just want to have a clean cut. And you can see here, if I start to draw around there, nothing is going to appear because our top projection is cutting everything out outside here. I want to go back to the top view and do another circle and press Control. While I'm dragging this circle, I'm pressing spacebar, so it allows me to drag it around. So I'm kind of placing it somewhere in the middle. Pressing Control, then I'm pressing Control and spacebar at the same time, which you can do. And now we have this kind of empty shell. So then let me go and introduce an extra part for the shell. So I'll put like a screw port here. And then I want to use this rectangular tool that will allow me create rectangular shapes. I'm just kind of dragging it like that, double clicking to create a shape, and then I will have a little circle and control it out, and we have a cut through like that. I can also try to make some complicated shape right in the middle, some kind of rods, and we can have a lot of them happening to maybe complicate this bit even further. However, at this stage, I don't think I want to do that. What I want to do is I'm pretty happy with this base shape. Let me just tweak this a little bit. And what I want to do is maybe introduce a little cut here. So we have like a little cut through and cut in the middle. And what is happening here when I do a rectangle on top of a rectangle, due to the symmetry overlap here, it gets to this little ledge. So what I want to do is actually draw it to this middle line here, Control, drag it. And right now these symmetry planes are not shown because I need to click here, show all planes. Now we got a little bit of a ledge there, but I won't really worry about it that much. So it's good enough. So what I want to do is I want to click here, create hard surface sketch, and that will construct us our first part of the assembly. One thing you do want to save before you click create hard surface sketch, because it can potentially crash. It didn't crash this time, and usually it's pretty stable, but just in case, just click save as much as you can. So now we've created this layer that's called a surface layer. It's not made of voxels, made of polygons. And if I go outside this tool, click on any other tool, just to go outside, and I want to, okay, there we go. We can have a preview of our shape. And you can see this shape is really quite complex, and you can't do that shape in any other software that quick. Pretty much it's stupendously quick and easy to do something like this. So press spacebar, go back into our sketch tool. And you can see here we have actually a problem. I cannot find it. I cannot find it because the sketch tool is only available in the voxel layer, in the voxel mode. So I have to click on this layer, and then it kind of showcases me the sketch tool because it's been kind of active on this layer. But that's a little and quite annoying thing. It's again not really intuitive. So what I can do here now is that I can really delete the sketch entirely, or I can save the sketch for the future reference, because if I want to fix something with my original shape, it will be good to save it and load it again. So I'll do it right now. I'll save it. And now I'm ready to remove it entirely, or maybe I'll just use it as a base. So I'll press Control and move it away. So we have now an inside tube, which I quite like, to be honest. One thing I want to do here, I just want to make sure that we fill in the circle. So what I want to do is here, I just want to control, remove everything, and then do this. So now we have our big tube, a long shaft, and what I can do is I can go here, and because I want to create multiple cuts. So this tube. However, to make them all the same, I need to activate the snapping grid. So I will go here and into view, show 2D grid, and that will get us our snapping grid. If I right click on this little circle, you can change it like up and down. So I'll click it here. You kind of don't want to change the camera view here. So once I've positioned the grid and the camera, I don't want to touch it. So what I'll do is I'll just start cutting through with this dimension. It starts a little bit slow, and it kind of snaps. The cursor will snap into itself, and okay, snap in, and there we go. The middle part is a bit thicker than we'll normally have, but okay, it will be good enough. If I didn't want to make that part a bit thicker, I would turn off the symmetry and just go through the whole shaft. So I'll create a hard surface sketch. Then we have it, and then I want to go back into the view. I want to turn off the show 2D grid. I want to go into the voxel layer, and I want to create a shaft that will go through the skull sketch. So what I want to do is I want to remove all of it here, then have it this thick. Maybe it's a bit too thick, so I'll do it like that, and just hide that for 1 second. I'm hiding that layer so everything else is visible. Pressing Control to or not pressing Control, just creating the shaft, and we have our internal tubing for this design. And I want to click apply, click create hard surface sketch. I don't want to click apply because it will apply it to the voxels, and I want to deal with polygons here. Just gets us a bit of a high definition model. All right, so we've got this basic design going. And what I'm thinking right now, I'm thinking about rescaling some parts of this model. So what I can do is I click on this layer, and it gives me this gizmo. So I can now scale it, and it actually didn't give me this gizmo, it gave me gizmo of the primitive object. So what I want to go and do, I want to pick up a transform tool, which is hidden somewhere here. I normally press W to activate it, and now I can scale it up and down. And then press 5 on my keyboard to bring back the orthographic view. And what I can do is just scale it down on one axis, scale this guy down on one axis too. And I've also been thinking about changing the proportions a little bit more. So I'm just squashing it and making it even bigger. So now it's penetrating the shape like that. And then I want to duplicate it. So if you want to duplicate it, it's better just click this button and we get a duplicate copy of the layer. So I can push it down, or I can make it so it's intersecting. It's up to you. I just want to push it down, and then I want to duplicate it again, and I want to push it down. And I'm thinking about clicking Shift and picking all of these guys together and just squashing them down and seeing how it's going to look. And I press 5 and on the number to see the orthographic preview. And I'm trying to figure out if I'm happy or not happy. I can scale them up and down. I think I'm pretty happy with that because it's creates more of a grip for the hand. And there we go. So if I double click on the layer, I can have the name for this, like grill or whatever the name should be. Just to keep it a bit more organized, I'll name the stuff. So just double click and I call it like main body. Now I want to do the cap, and for that I will remove show all planes, and I want to push this up. And you can see now if I'm pushing it up, it's pushing one plane, but it's not pushing to another one. So what I want to do is I want to click on the transform all, and that will push all the planes up like that. So press 5 on the numpad again to deactivate the orthographic preview, and then go and start designing. So this time I don't want the symmetry on every side. I want the symmetry on the X, but not the Y. So what I want to do is Control click, and I think the thickness will be about the same. This guy will be like that. And now actually I want to turn off all the symmetry, and I'll just do a cut across. So do a cut like that, and I didn't press Control. So do a cut like that again, and you can see here we need to introduce a cut inside here as well. And then I kind of like this thing right there. It's kind of cool, so I'll keep it. And maybe introduce another hole, so it can be maybe a big round hole like that. Maybe it's too big. Maybe I want to do 2 of them. And I can also go from this point of view and do holes like that. So kind of debating, and I think having a hole from here is better. This hole will go through the whole design, so I have to be careful about placing it. maybe just like a little cut through it. I have to press the space bar, move it around to place it better. So I'll just turn off the symmetry because I think it's spoiling the shape. There we go. And I can even do two of them, and I can activate the snapping grid, but I'll just do it by the eye. There we go. Got a little design, and here I could do a little cut like that, and see if it's looking any cool or not. Oh, I could keep it, or maybe not. I can do. So this is one of those decisions you will have to do constantly, like introducing a cut, removing a cut, how many. That's the fun part of designing this thing. And I think I'm pretty happy with this at this stage. So I played a little bit with the designs. I decided just to make this bit bigger, and I returned the original shape of this grill, but I'm not still sure about it, so maybe it'll change it, who knows. So what I want to do is I go back to the sketch tool, and this time I want to do the kind of the bottom bit. So I'll press 5 to go into the orthographic view. And if you don't know how to activate the orthographic projection, if you don't have a numpad, you can actually go into the view and click it here. So then go here and just do the cuts. I want to activate the symmetry back here, back on. And I just need to come up with the idea for the bottom part. Maybe introducing a circle will make it look interesting. So what I'll do, I'll say apply to create a part there. And I actually made a mistake. I shouldn't have clicked apply. I should have clicked create hard surface sketch. I created a surface. I created a sketch inside the voxel layer tool layer, and it's really heavy. It's like 3 million triangles extra. So now I'm trying to undo it, and this is where 3D code gets pretty heavy. And this is where also you want to start saving a lot because it might lead to a crash. And I want to introduce the inside part. So what I'll do here, I'll start to draw this all together and do this. So because I'm using my old sketch, you can see this side profile is cutting through really nicely, so it all belongs together. And then I can introduce some complicated shapes. For example, do this, or maybe introduce a circle in the inside, and it kind of like that, and then do control subtraction, and then do this. So now we have a really complicated shape. It's really hard to do anywhere else but 3D code. And then I want to clean this up. You can see this poking out. So just use the lasso tool. I went and click on the lasso tool. I just want to remove the stuff that's poking out and is a bit visible. And that bottom part is also poking out a little bit. So I want to remove it and hit create hard surface sketch. And there we go. It will create it. Another thing I can do, I can reuse the existing parts. So this cylinder, I can just reuse it again. I can click duplicate button, push it down, scale it down, push it down, scale it down. And there we go. We kind of have an inside thing right there. Maybe it's an extra button, so I can press Shift D to duplicate, make it like that. At any given time, we can go and render this out just to see how it looks with the more understandable preview. Rotate it. Right now it's in orthographic view, so press 5 to go outside of it and just take a look around see if I'm happy or not that happy. And it's looking pretty good. One other tool I want to show is a split tool. I want to get one of these guys out, one of these circles. So just click on split tool, go E, pick rectangular, and just cut it out. Cutting it out, it will create a sub layer in this layer. So I want to drag that up here, and now I have it over there. So you can see the operation like that is kind of left a leftover, which is a bit of a funny one. I should have really duplicated this first and then do the thing. However, I do have my backup layers right here, so I'll just reuse this guy because this one is pretty fresh. So that will do. So now I have this disk. I can put it in the middle and just create a ring around. Maybe something like that. An extra complexity. And press. So I press Shift D, but my cursor was pointing at this part here, and it's duplicated that part. It didn't duplicate the part which I wanted to, this one. So I want to do Shift D and click it outside this space. And I want to make sure I place it in the good position in the way I find it's helping the design. Let's go check it in the render view. And here, this is where I'll kind of need to think a little bit about if I like it or not. Another thing we can see, the color of this disk is different. And what's happening, the mesh is no longer uniform because we scaled it up and down quite a bit. So what I want to do is I want to right click and bring it to uniform space. Right click, bring it to uniform space, and that will fix the render. So I'm getting a bit annoyed by this irregular thickness of that guy. So I'm kind of starting to think if I want to cut it out as well, or maybe use a split tool and move it down. What I actually want to use is I want to use the cutoff tool. So I can use it, drag a rectangular, and it will cut it out. However, we're still living with left with this kind of a 3D code bug. So I have to repeat it a couple times and it got removed. Thanks God. All right, so I did a bit of a design trick, couple of design tricks. So splitted this the grill or rings in inside rings, duplicated them a few times, made this cylinder quite a bit bigger to fill up and create the grip. And then I want to do another part of this design and go to the insides of the beam projector or whatever you call this thing. So I would imagine it's gonna be a bit lower, a bit here. Remove it, create it a bit higher, make it round. And for some reasons, it's not actually creating a mesh. This is where, okay, now actually it does create the mesh. I wasn't able to see it before. And let's do couple rings. Pressing Control and then couple connectors like that. So I'll use the rectangular tool. Press Shift to snap to an angle, which you don't really like that angle here. Shift, snap an angle, double click. We have something that kind of makes sense. And same thing here. Another part. Looks pretty good. So I'll create the hard surface sketch and give it a second to create it. I'll press W to activate the transform tool so I can move the stuff around. And let me just move it up and just think, I'm just squashing it down, do I want it to be squashed? I think it's pretty good. I'm looking at this part and I'm thinking if I want to do a cutout or not. Use a cutout tool, cut-off tool, and cut it through, and I hope it will work out because sometimes it does not. It did. Okay, now we have a deeper hole right there. It's pretty cool. And I think couple last things we are lacking is just having a button on the side of this to activate and deactivate this lightsaber. It could be on the front, could be anywhere really. So we'll just go back to do our final sketch. I'll just want to reset. Well, let me go sketch. I want to reset everything just to make my life a bit easier. Push it up, then clear current, and I can make a hole or two holes. I have the symmetry on, that's why it creates a whole bunch of holes. Press Control. I only need that part. So I want to make the ring so it will look more realistic if I have the ring. And I have to kind of eyeball it and then do this. Oh, I'll create a hard surface sketch and then remove that one and create a new one. Hit create hard surface sketch. Alright, so there we go. Press W to move it around, and we have that little button on the side. And maybe I just want to press Shift, click all of them, just move it down. Press it on the inside a little bit more. And at this stage, I can also start to apply different materials to make it a bit more fun. I don't have that many though inside regular 3D code. We can, however, right click, apply to visible, all of those ones, and then say A to click on one of these shafts and apply. Well, I didn't want to do that. I cannot undo apply to visible, so I have to just click there. So, oh well, I click apply to visible and then pick that for presentation. And then if I go into the render room, render, I can just take a look and see how we are going. For the final thing, if you want to actually 3D print this, you will want to combine all of these layers together. Well, or just export this. Actually, the easiest thing is if you go and export for 3D printing, it will export as one solid object, and you just need to make sure that you don't have any loose parts. For example, this part is probably like floating in the air, so I want to make sure that it's kind of hitting the edges, that it will get printed all together. And then you get the OBJ out, and you can print it out and get your lightsaber design. So you can create fairly complicated designs using the Sketch tool, and while it requires some knowledge of the interface of 3D code, really in the end it's just your imagination, just painting the shapes which you want to do. Give it a try and leave a comment if you like the video and interested to see the future ones.